Hey guys, welcome back. We are not at Black Sheep Meadow today. I'm Amber.
I'm Brent.
And we are actually pulling into Jason's Snake Creek Cattle Company, where he's gonna go over processing a half a hog with us, and we're gonna take you guys along. So stay tuned. Hey guys, we made it here. This is Jason, so I'm gonna let him, explain what he does here and what we're here today to do.
Hi, my name is Jason Koffel, live south of Houston. This is my hobby butcher shop that I've acquired many pieces over the years. Butchering is not my profession, it's just something fun that I do. We do raise a lot of animals here. We raise a lot of chickens, hogs, and cattle. I like to, in the community especially, before COVID happened, we would bring 4-H kids out, FFA kids out, show them how to break their deer down, show them how to process a pig that they were raising for the fair or a steer. COVID hits, a new kick to be self-sufficient, putting your own meat in the freezer. We all went through the grocery stores with nothing there. So people want to know, okay, I got this pig, I got this cow, I got this chicken, lamb, whatever. How do I break it down into retail cuts? So I've been butchering for over 11 years. As a homesteader myself, I'd like to show you today on a half of a hog, go through the cuts, go through the tools of what you need, so that way you will have the confidence to get after it yourself.
That sounds awesome. Let's get closer.
Yep.
So real simple, these are tools that anybody can get. One, you want something to sharpen your knives. That's key. Keep good edge maintenance while you're going through it. As a rookie butcher, you're going to run your blade over a lot of bone and you're going to dull it out very fast, so keep the edge sharp. You don't have to have this, but I have a little fillet knife here, just any fillet knife that you use for fish. The reason that I like to have it is because if I'm cutting gray skin off or any type of sinew to clean it up, it's just real easy, flexible to get under there. This is a boning knife right here. This is from Victory Knives. These run about $24. They're a pretty good bang for the buck here. There's another semi-flex knife that you can get around edges real good with that, not needed, but it's nice to have that in your arsenal. One thing you will need is a steak knife. This is another Victory staking knife that you have. So really, if you wanted to get down to the bare bones, these are the only things that you really need. And I recommend that everybody have a saw. For sure. This is a 22-inch pig saw. All right, so this is a half of a hog. This is a female, weighed about 252 pounds. This was a show reject, meaning that it didn't make the sale on my daughter's pigs. This is going to be for our own personal use. This was harvested 4 days ago. I let it set just to get a good, it's called a good set on the pig so that it's not sloppy, slimy when you're cutting into things. See how it gets kind of hard and muscle fibers get tight. You don't really have to age pigs. You can do it in 24 hours if you want to. Just wait for a cold day, slaughter the pig, and then hang it for about 24 hours. Very hard to do in Texas. You got to catch that right. But we've had about 4 days where it's been below 40 degrees. That's the key. So if you can time that to where you can hang it for 24 hours below 40 degrees and then go ahead and cut it up, you're good. So this was just a home kill. We're going to clean this up a little bit. Still have some spinal cord intact, so we'll get that cleaned up. We'll clean up some of these dried pieces and get a more presentable animal so we can start breaking it down into our primals. I just take my hone here and I just pull the spinal cord out with that. So I just want to clean this pig up a little bit, get some spinal cord remains out of there, get some of the hair off of this. This is an interesting thing. This is not any type of mold or mildew. This is just black pigment on the fat because these are market cross hogs. So that's kind of the black Berkshire that you're seeing right there. Totally harmless. Don't worry about that. So let's start breaking this down into our 4 primals. And what you have is you'll have your shoulder, you have your loin, you have your belly, and then you'll have your hands. So the first thing that I like to do getting in here, and I would recommend that you all do this, is to take out your tenderloin first. Because what will happen is if you don't do that and you mess up when you're cutting over here, you will cut the head of it off. And that is not something that you want to do over here. Just follow the bone, take your knife and see how it's flexing like this. Just flex it towards the bone, towards those ribs. Flex it out like you see here. All right, and you'll start to see this hip bone right here. Follow along that hip bone. Use your knife, different angles, just follow it along. And it almost wants to peel right out. And it can rip, so you got to be careful when you do this. You'll see where it kind of trails off here at the end. There you got it. Sometimes people do, there's 100 different ways to butcher a pig, and sometimes people do different parts of the country, different things, but this is how I do it for my own consumption, and I haven't had any problems or complaints yet. There we go, and we can clean that up later, but you get a pretty, it's really nice tenderloin out of that. And we'll clean that up a little bit later as we go. Next thing you want to do, this right here, all this flare fat, really good for your charcuterie people, your salamis, your hard meats. This fat, I would not recommend putting it in with any of your trim for pan sausage because it's very tacky. And it'll give you this, it'll kind of stick to the roof of your mouth type thing, but it's a very good binding agent for your salamis. So we'll get this out of the way, pull this back, pull it off, so we can kind of see our belly a little bit better there. And you can see it kind of rips right off. The pig is set good on there. Just to kind of clean it up. And we'll absolutely save this for sure. So this side. Okay, so now you can see it kind of getting a little bit clearer of what we need to do. So now we're going to grab our saw. You're going to count with the ribs, 1, 2, 3. In between 3 and 4, we're going to cut there. Some people go between 4 and 5. I go between 3 and 4. So you got your rib right here, right there. 1, 2. Where is it? 1, 2, 3. Right in here. Make a mark right there. Okay. Then come up to this vertebrae right here. That's where you're going to aim for, straight on through with your saw, like so. So we're going to get the saw out. We're going to follow this line right there, line it up with this vertebrae right here, and kind of nip it. Yeah, you can hold it down there. Just nip it right there. Straight on through. Once you hear the pitch change in the meat, stop what you're doing. Right there. Get your saw out. Grab your steak knife. Straight on through. You might have a little bone in there, the shoulder blade in there. Right there, we didn't get all the way through. No problem. Bring it back. I'll just cut that. There you go, right there. Straight on through. So now you have your shoulder right there. We'll set this aside. Get all the bone dust off of there, so that'll discolor your meat. There you have pork shoulder. Set that aside. Now we're going to come in and take off the hams. Now there's a couple different ways you can do this. Some people leave it long, some people leave it short. I'm gonna put it on there short, because what I like to do is I like to keep this this tail right here on my loin, so that way I can get some sirloin steaks out of it. But you can do it however you'd like. So what you want to do is kind of imagine in your mind where the ham is. Right here, you want to draw kind of a straight line with your saw that's going to be parallel to the ham. So let's go ahead and get that done. As you can see, right about there is where we want it.
And we actually we cut through the socket thing, I guess.
Not really. You just want to cut. You're not cutting through the socket. You're just cutting the H-bone right there in half.
So the socket's still in here.
Yep, socket's still in there, you'll see that. So you're just cutting the H-bone in half right there. We'll set this aside. All right, so now that we got our ham off, we got our shoulder off right here, we're gonna separate the loin from the belly. That's real simple. What you do, take it from the side here, and you wanna you can kind of see this muscle group right here where it ends. Kind of draw an imaginary line with your brain right through here. About right there is where you want it. So we'll take this, cut it, because there's no bone right there. And your bone is right here. I like to make a mark on the other side, right there. So you can line up this line with this right here. Cut the ribs. Right there. As soon as that pitch changes, stop what you're doing. Grab your steak knife and just bring it to you. Like so. Nice and easy. Boom. Nice straight cut. Nice straight cut of loin. Right there. And then there's your belly section. So what we'll do is we'll get all these on the block. We'll show you how we got our primals. Okay, so now we got our 4 primals off of a pig. You got your ham, your loin, belly section, and your shoulder. So now that we got our primals set, we're going to start breaking these down into our retail cuts. I'm going to show you where you find these things. Obviously, you get your chops from here. This is where you get your pulled pork, your picnic hams, bacon. I'll show you how to take the ribs off. And when we do the hams in Texas, we don't really do a lot of smoking of the whole ham. There's just not a huge market for it, even at Christmas times. We're more steak people and sausage people and bacon wrapped jalapeno people down here. So I'll show you at home, since most of you will not have a smoker to smoke these hams in, how you can debone them and we can make nice roasts for 2 people or a family of 4. So we'll start off with the ham. All right, so we got our ham here. As you can see, a nice solid piece of meat. You're gonna have at the home butchery, you're gonna have hairs, things of that nature. You're gonna have a little bit of grass where you cut the skin off to hang them by the hocks. Just trim all that stuff out as much as you can. But if you have some on there, that's fine, because we're going to cut this section off and we can work on that in a more organized fashion. Depending on you, how you like it. I like a lot of fat on mine, so I just kind of scrape it off just a little bit here to get it nice and clean. You can see what it does in the cooler. It gets kind of a nice skin on there. Just shave that off and you got some nice white pure fat. So let's break this ham down. Now, first thing we're going to do is we're going to take the ham hock off. So if you can see here, this can be difficult at home. There's a seam in here. Can't really see it. Maybe it's right about there with the fat layer off, but you can kind of feel where it bends. Come above that bend and cut it off. If we miss it, we're just going to take the saw and cut it. Don't worry about yourself at home trying to get this perfect in here. If you can't, you will just saw through it. And it looks like right here is where the joint is. Got it through the first time, but don't crucify yourself if you can't get that immediately there to let it break through nice and clean. It's not a big deal, and it's not the end of the world. Say you want to hit that joint right through there. It just takes us some practice to do it. So
That's essentially the knee, correct?
yes, yep, that's the knee right there. So what I'll do too, another way when we do this, just like they do in cartoons, we can French chime this up here so the bone's sticking out. But this right here is beautiful for your ham and bean soup in the crock pot. That's a cut for that. So now that we got the ham hock off, our next point is, you can see we're going to take out this the leftover H-bone that we cut right there. So I'm just going to come in behind it and just follow the bone. You can't go far wrong if you always keep the knife pointed to the bone. Got it? Stay as tight as you can. If you leave a lot of meat on the H-bone, do not worry, because it'll go into trim, it'll go into sausages. You can kind of see right there is where the ball joint is of the hip. Just come down through there. Boom, and it should release nice for you. And just kind of follow the bone right all the way down. Try to get it as clean as you can, but like I said, you leave that stuff on there, no harm. We're going to put that in the trim pile, get it clean to the bone, use these bones for stock, soup, things of that nature. All right, now, to further break this down, the way we like to do it in Texas is I like to remove the sirloin from the sirloin tip from the top side and the bottom side. And the way you do that, I'm going to clean this up to kind of show everybody so that you can really see this. And this is the same with deer, cattle, anything. See this right here? There's a seam right there. So just with confidence, take and just cut that seam. Cut down that seam. And you'll see right through here, you can separate it. There's the bone. Right there is that nice, easy seam. You can cut that. Almost pulls apart when you get it right. Right down in there. There you go, we got it. See that? See how that just pulls right apart when you get it correct. And like I said, cut these things with confidence, guys. You don't have to worry about, oh my gosh, I did this, I did that. We could take that entire pig that I showed you from the beginning if you wanted to and grind the whole thing into sausage. It's your pig. You can do whatever you want with it. We can stake the whole thing out. When you're doing cattle, you can make burger out of the whole thing, even if you wanted to be crazy enough and take the ribeye and grind it. It's your pig, or it's your cow. You can do whatever you want. This is your pig. So right there, we removed the top side. This is on a cow where you get your London broils or your topside roasts. Now we're just going to clean this up a little bit in through here, get some of this sinew off. And we're going to have another seam right underneath here that we're going to take. You can see that right there. See it? How easily that separates just with a flick of the knife. You can almost pull it with your hands. Always move the meat, guys, in your position. Do not dance around the meat. There you go. So this is what your bottom round is on a cow. You would get your eye round right here. You can see that kind of wanting to come out. Eye round on a cow right there, but we don't take those out on pigs. Now the rest, all you got to do is debone this femur. Just stick to the bone as close as you can get. You leave meat on there, do not worry one bit. That's what people freak out about is, oh my gosh, I left so much meat on the bone. So what? You're still going to consume it. It's going to be sausage. You're not a professional butcher. You're not in a retail butcher shop. The whole point of this is to have the confidence to do it on your own at home. Right there. See, some of this is a lot of trash, stringy, sinew stuff. We'll break it down, get it off the bone, clean it up, see what usable pieces we can go through for our sausages and our trim and whatnot. So, all right, so we put the ham back together. You have your sirloin tip that we got off right there. You got your top round, you got your bottom round, and then you got your hock. And you got your bone right here that will trim up. So those are the joints. We're going to continue to break these down into even more usable cuts. All right, so here's the sirloin tip that we have right here. There is a little bit of a kneecap right there that you want to just kind of come out, just kind of do a horseshoe or a U shape right in there and just get that removed. So this would be equivalent of your sirloin tip roast. Now, a couple things that we can do with this. One, you want to find out where the grains are going here, and you always want to cut against the grains. When you're cutting steaks, it will make sure that it makes the muscle fibers be a little more tender for you. In this particular case, we don't do a lot of ham steaks. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to keep this into a roast. This is ready to rock and roll right there. You can tie that up, roast it up. That's good. Perfect for a family of 4 right there in the crock. So right here is the bottom side, bottom round. This is your eye of round. And the only thing we're going to do with this, you could cut this up if you wanted more on the sausage side, pan sausage side. There's not really a good ratio of fat to lean on this. This is more lean back here. Just going to trim up some of these untasty bits that we have. So what I'm going to do on this particular cut of meat is I'm just going to go across it in about thirds. And I'm just going to kind of eyeball and see. I have a family of 4. What would be one meal for us? And I'm just going to kind of see right here. Just make a little mark there and a little mark right here. Cut across, and that looks good for the crock pot. Got a lot of kids in sports. We do a lot of crock pot cooking as much as we like to grill. See that piece of meat right there? Delicious on that. So got a couple good roasts right there that you can have. And we just took that one piece and you got 1, 2, 3 meals out of it. So same thing with this top side right here. This is where you would get your, what is it called on the cow? Your picanha cap, is that what it's called? Right here. Just fillet that off. You got that. Another thing we're going to do for at-home butchery is I'll show you what you could do for some ham steaks if you wanted them. Right there would be your sacrifice piece, that ball on there, and then cut them about, I cut them about 3/4 inch right there. And you could have a nice ham steak out of that. This would be considered your London broil as well. I'm going to cut 2 or 3 nice ham steaks just to give us some variety out of this. And then one more, cut another one. Now, if you don't want to use these as steaks, you don't have to. You can always just throw them in the crock pot, throw them in the roast, but at least it gives you more option. You can always go one way with it. And then right here, this, I'm just going to dice this up and add some lean meat to my sausage. So as you're working your way through your cuts of meat here, and you're looking at it and you're thinking to yourself, do I want diced pork for like kebabs or casseroles, or do I want to use it for pan sausage? How do you know? Well, it's real simple. You see a nice lean piece of meat like this with a little fat cap on there. All you could do with this, if you want some nice lean stew meat, cut this off. That could be for your sausage pile, and that could be for your diced pile. When you get a mess like this in hand where it's kind of bloody, you might have a vessel through, you just kind of cut it up like so. And that is dedicated to your sausage pile right there, because you're not going to see any of this. Once it goes through the grinder, it's going to be unrecognizable. This too flat to really do anything, but we got a nice piece of fat on there, so that'll go to our sausage pile. So just work your way through, and I'm going to work my way through this as we go, and just kind of decide for yourself. That kind of looks a mess. You got a nice fat cap on it. Let's throw it to sausage on there. This right here looks very nice and lean. Piece of stew meat like so. I'm gonna square it up, make nice cubes into stew meat or casserole meat. So you guys can kind of see the difference in the type of meat as we're working through what you want to grind versus what you want to keep for diced. Okay, so we have the final breakdown right here of the ham, and what this does is it kind of gives you a little bit more utility out of just having ham. Unless you're feeding a lot of people, having Christmas dinner of 12 plus, it might not be a good idea to keep your ham whole. You'll be going through it for a week. So here we could break it down into more manageable cuts. We have our dice pile right here. This is for your casseroles or your kebabs. Right here is your trim pile for your sausage. That'll go to our pan sausage. Right here we have some roast from the bottom round. We have some ham steaks from the top round. We have our sirloin tip roast, and then we have our ham hock for our ham and bean soup, one of my favorites on a cold day. And then you have right here is your finger bone. So there you have it. On to the next. All right, now we got the front shoulder moving right along. This is where you're going to get your picnic ham, your Boston butt for your pulled pork, one of my absolute favorites. There's a couple different ways you can do this, like anything. I'm going to show you a very simple way for the novice butcher to break this down into usable cuts, so you're not fighting over yourself. If you're not skilled with a knife, boning out these neck bones, coming down here to the ribs and getting it all out in one piece can be a frustrating challenge. These neck bones are, they're at different sizes, different shapes. The vertebrae go in. It's a pain in the butt, so I'm going to show you how to break this down a very simple way. And one way we're going to do that is we're just going to saw right through the middle of it, separate our picnic and our Boston. In order to do that, look at the spinal cord right here. You'll see a flat edge. You want to put your saw right up to this edge right here, and hopefully in this will go right through into the joint of the arm, separating the blade. If you don't, we'll just saw through it. It won't be a problem. Even I miss it sometimes. Let's see. So right here, you want it pretty parallel to that. Come through. All right, we heard difference in the pitch. Let's see if I can't find that ball joint here. See, there's the bone. And the ball joint, I missed it, no problem. So if you miss it too at your house, don't worry. Just saw right through this bone right here. You're not going to be far off at all. So that's what we're going to do. Change pitch. Stop what you're doing, grab a big steak knife here, and just pull it towards yourself. There you have it. Separate the two sides. We'll work on this Boston butt right here, deboning the spinal cord and the neck bones. We'll set this aside for right now and come back to it. All right, so the best way to get in here is to find these ribs. Get your knife in underneath of them and just trace down the entire skeletal structure here of the back. So why don't we get on that? Spinning the meat towards you. Do not dance around the table on this. I'm going to get my semi-flex here. Be very careful. Just stick to the bone. That's all you got to do. Sticking to the bone, you'll be fine. You can see it starts to peel its way up on itself. Leaving anything on there, don't worry. We're going to clean all these bones. You just have more for your sausage pile. Nothing to be concerned about. After you harvest your pig, which we'll show in another video, you're going to have all these shards of bones here from the saw or your cleaver, however you chop it off. Be careful because these can be sharp. And with the knife angled towards the bone, pulling away. Boom, there you have it. This is your neck bone. We'll clean this up as best we can. A lot of this stuff in here, guys, has a lot of tendon, has a lot of sinew in. It's really not very edible when you're putting it in your pan sausage. Whatever you put in your pan sausage, you will find with your teeth. So be careful when you're taking this out. Don't feel like you have to get every last scrape of meat on there. I like to go for quality, not necessarily the quantity of it. We've all had hogs or pigs, cattle butchered somewhere, and you just get a nice piece of sinew or a bone in your burger. Just be careful with all this stuff in here. Okay, now what we want to do, this is our Boston butt that we have, pulled pork specialty. If you're not a pulled pork fan, this right here is for sausage. It is the perfect ratio of fat to lean. One thing that we are going to do, if you remember, when we cut through that blade bone, we got to get that out. So you can see it right in here. So just take your little semi-flex. I'll use the boning knife because most people don't have a semi-flex. And we will just flick. I'm only using this top of the knife right here. Just take that and just give it a good flick down till you get to the end. This is a very odd shaped bone. I'll show you when we pull it out. So do not feel bad leaving meat on it because it is very ridiculous.
And if you were going to smoke this, you would just leave the bone in there?
Yep, you just leave the bone in if you're going to smoke it, for sure. Those of you that have butchered wild hogs can appreciate this for sure. The weirdness of this bone. I don't really get too particular about cutting all this off because I have plenty of my Boston butt for my pulled pork, and then I can just cut around this, which it's going to go into sausage anyway. Some of this is, but you can kind of see how weird this thing looks. I'm going to clean it up for you guys. See what edges you need to kind of follow in there. That's the bone. This would be considered in your beef, your flat iron right there. And we'll clean these bones up a little bit better. We'll show you the end product. But for now, it's just about getting them broken down. So there's your full slab of your pulled pork, your Boston butt. We're going to clean some of this off from the butchery or from the harvest process. Totally edible, not going to hurt you, just unsightly. Give it to your dog. There you go. I like to take this, and I'll take my steak knife, and I just like to square them up good. Like I said, most of this is going, some of this is going to go to sausage. We're going to keep some of the roast for pulled pork. But I just like to square my edges up real nice. As a hobby butcher, just makes it look a little bit more presentable. There you go. That's what you'd find in the store right there for your pork shoulder. Right. So here's the other part of the pig shoulder. This would be your picnic ham in through here. We're going to take off this shoulder. This is a very odd appendage to take off because it kind of has a crescent moon shape to it. If you don't hit it right away, don't freak out. Just take your saw and cut it off. I'm going to try to show you guys here what it looks like, so that way you can kind of see what I'm talking about here. And it's just from kind of practicing on it. See right in through here? Right there is part of the shoulder, and then there's a joint right here that you can break it through. But if you wanted to find that right in through here with your knife, you're going to dull it out a lot, you're going to mess it up. So just take it right here where that joint is and kind of guess if you wanted to, and you could saw it if you wanted. And that's what I'm going to do for you today and show you. I'm going to expose it and kind of show you where it is. If you want to have a go at it, you can, but it can be tricky. Very tricky to find it. Right there. And every pig is different that you do, depending on the breed. Heritage hogs are a little bit different than your market hogs. The anatomy is different. So I put this one up a little bit higher. It actually came down a little bit low. But just to show you, even myself, that's been butchering for a while, how much of a fight this is. Kind of a pain in the butt to get it off. I'll just French trim that picnic ham there, so you can see it right in through here. There's that bone. It attaches down here like so. I made my cut up here. Some of your pigs on your bigger market hogs, it's a little bit higher, but right there is where that attaches. So the best thing to do if you want to have a go with your knife, perfectly acceptable to cut it right there if you miss, is to just kind of feel here. Try to feel for that joint, and then just make a U with it. We'll trim that up, get some sausage off of that, and then this will be another one for the ham and bean soup. So we're just going to take this rest of this little rib off. That's going to be used for our sausage when we trim it up. Take off this brisket piece for sausage as well. Right there, this is like right where the armpit is. Just kind of nice seam right there. You can see where it's at, separating the brisket from the picnic. And I'll just go into sausage. Can't really. I mean, if you wanted to have some pork brisket, feel free. It's your pig. You can do whatever you want with it. But we're going to keep it as sausage, because this is where on these shoulders where we get our sausage from, for sure. You can kind of see this seam right here. We're going to continue with it, coming down right to that bone. And you'll have your, once we finish taking out this rest of this little blade bone, this is where you'll have your picnic ham, picnic section of the ham. And you can monkey with this as much as you want. On the picnic hams, I like to leave them a little bit bigger. You can leave the bone in, but just for the process of this video, I want to show you how to debone it. Front shoulders on every single animal you do, steer, swine, on lambs, are the most difficult to do on anything. The anatomy is pretty similar, but different. There's different spots on it. So they take the most time. Do not get discouraged. Keep your knife pointed towards the bone. Anything you leave on there, anything you leave on these bones, we can trim off into sausage. We'll show you the end product once we clean it up of how nice it looks. Just going to clean up some blood vessel there. I'm going to debone this real quick. I'm going to actually take this picnic ham and grind it all into sausage, because I really don't need, we eat more pan sausage than we do roasted ham. But for the video, I'm just going to show you what you can do out of it, should you be so inclined to keep it. There's the bone. Sausage pile, square this up like so, and here's your deboned picnic ham section. You can leave the bone in, stand it up like so if you wanted to. You've seen them in the stores, but basically it's the circle portion, the top shoulder of the arm there. I'm just going to kind of, while I finished up doing the trim, I'm just going to cut this pulled pork into more manageable pieces. Obviously, you can leave it whole. You're having a party, you're having a picnic, 4th of July, what have you. You can keep it a little bit more, you can keep it whole for the crock pot, for the smoker, for the grill, whatever, but I'm going to, that's a perfect portion for my family, one meal. So instead of one big meal, we just got 3 meals out of that. Here's your picnic ham. I keep that whole right there, like so. So we have our forearm, you have your picnic ham, boneless. You have your Boston butt into 3 pieces. Keep it whole if you want to, no problem there. Most people don't have a vacuum sealer like this back here that you can get an entire ham, an entire pork shoulder into. So I'm trying to show you for like your sporting goods store chain type vacuum sealers. These will be perfect size to fit in there. Here's our trim pile. That's what we want. This is all the trim that we got off of that front shoulder, and that's what where you want to get most of your trim for your sausage. 50-50, fat to lean. That's what you want right there. And then here's our bones that we cleaned up. Here's that weird bone. You can make a primitive killing device out of. And then that's what you have right there. So this is front shoulder broken down, miles away from where we were. So let's continue on with the belly. All right, off to our belly portion, one of my favorite pieces of the pork, where you're gonna have your ribs, your belly, for your bacon, if you choose to do so. I'm gonna show you guys here, most of you don't have a bacon slicer. I'm going to show you how to make bacon without having a slicer. Real simple trick. When I show you, you're going to be like, oh, okay, I get it. So right now, we want to get some of this off of here, clean it up a little bit more, get it looking like a belly. Pour some more of this flare fat on there. This pig had a lot of fat on it. We pulled it off of its normal show feed and got it into a 4-month Jason Koffel specific feed to get a lot of this fat on here and to change the color of the meat from white to red, which is what pork should be. Another video we can show kind of some feeding rations, things of that nature. And I'm just going to clean some of this up. And all this gets saved. It's all going to go to the trim pile, all the sausage pile, like so. But There we have that. So first thing we're gonna do, any type of leftover, we're gonna square it up. Always like to square up my cuts. We'll go into the trim that we have. Clean up any type of this fat that's on here that you need to see what you're doing. Don't just cut through the fat blindly, guessing. Take this off like so. Again, this fat is not very good for mixing with your pan sausage. It gets gummy on the top of your mouth. You can see how you can kind of mold it like so. It's very sticky. Excellent for your charcuterie and salami, so save it for that. All right, so the first thing we're gonna do on this belly is we're gonna remove these ribs. And to do that, just take your knife, get under here, like so, make a cut, and just pull. All you gotta do. Now, when you're doing your ribs, you can leave as much or as little as you want on here of meat. I like to personally just kind of peel them off thinly because I like more bacon than I do ribs, but it's dealer's choice. This is your pig. You can do whatever you want with it. Make a nip right there. We'll get into some of these chest bones in here. There we go. Just nip through them like so. And just keep your knife flat. And it just wants to come off like this. Don't worry, when we get to this bacon, you're going to see when we take these ribs off, you're going to get a thin spot in the belly. Don't worry about that. I'll show you what to do there. Kind of feel with your hand where these ribs end, and just kind of make yourself a little cut here, like so, and they should peel right off. If not, give them a little nudge. See, I kind of missed them a little bit right there. You got those pin bones, or not pin bones, but they're called, I forget what they're called. Leave it for the comments what they're called.
Somebody will tell us, I'm sure.
Someone will tell us. Button bones, that's what it is. Button bone. When you get up here into this cartilage of the chest, just kind of find a seam, nip through it, and there's your ribs right there. I'll take that off later. Now you have your belly portion of the pig. Go through, get this bone cleaned up. Now you guys can do whatever you want to do with this. Like I said, bacon is one thing that you can make out of here. Show you how you get your bacon. Excellent layer of meat and fat ratio. Now, your bacon, I will tell you, is not going to taste like store-bought bacon unless you cure it at your house. Most of you don't know how to do that or have the capabilities to do so. This will taste just fine, but it's not going to taste like crispy, salty bacon. It'll taste more like ham when you fry it up. What we're going to do with this slab right here is we're going to take it and we're going to put it in the freezer. My freezer right now is like at -11, and then when we get through, we're going to just stiffen this up a little bit so that you at home can take your knife and cut thin pieces of bacon. You try to do it when it's not partially frozen. You're going to be moving over, you're going to have a cut that looks like this, and you're going to have a hack job out of it. So that's what I like to do to get it a little bit stiff, and that's just one little trick that I would recommend is just take this piece, stick it in the freezer, let it stiffen up so that you can cut manageable pieces because you most likely don't have a bacon slicer. So
when you put it in the freezer, are you going to try to lay it flat, or
what I do is I fold it like so, and then I will square it like this, try to flatten it out, square it. See how I have this right here, that little piece sticking out, square it up on each side. Square it up here if you want to, because a lot of this can be used for sausage as well. There you go. If you had a bacon slicer, you'd have to square it up anyway to fit through the slicer. Do it like so. Put it in the freezer, then when you cut it, we'll be cutting 2 pieces at once.
Awesome.
There.
Awesome.
So let's get that in the freezer and finish here. All right, this is the one you've been waiting for. This is the loin. This is where you're going to get your chops. This is where you're going to get some of your sirloin steaks if you want. I'm going to show you how to get a sirloin off of a pig. You're going to have your loin chops, more equivalent to your ribeye steaks off the front end. So let's get busy. First thing that I'm going to do, if you remember from the beginning of the video, we cut this what we call short. Cut the H-bone in line short to the ham. Now what we're going to do with this, it's real easy. You see the tail, remainder of the tail coming up. You see this bend right there. Go one more vertebrae right here and make a straight cut with your saw. So that's what we're going to do. It's going to square off that loin, and it's going to give you plenty of options for sirloin steak. Changes pitch, stop what you're doing, come through. You can snap this off from the other side, but I'm just kind of trying to show you guys who don't know how to do that the easy way. So we'll break this down further as we go. Next thing that you want to do on this right here is you want to look to see where your ribs end, which is right about here. Then you get these little feather bones like so. So right there where the rib ends, and you get these little finger bones, feather bones, whatever they call them, continuation of the rib going down, you're going to make a cut right there as well. So we're going to look right here where that is, okay? We're going to saw it in half. Change the pitch. There might be one more rib angle in that way you have to get through. Right there. Looks like we got through it. And you're going to cut it. Straight cut. So there you go. That's going to be the equivalent to your New York strip. Right there. So there are your loin chops. Okay, the next thing that we're going to do here, like I like to do, you can, again, with a lot of knife work, come in through here and remove these ribs and the spine and the neck vertebrae all in one. I don't like to do that. I don't like to teach that because I want you to be able to chime these bones down. We're just going to take our saw and we're just going to make a cut through this vertebrae. And you're going to angle on one side right here. You're going to angle on the other side right there. And you're just going to cut through it at an angle. I'll show you what I mean. Make a cut like so. Right there. Make a cut here. Line them up. And this is going to take a little bit of elbow grease, and not much. Kind of keep the saw at an angle, and you'll hear the change. If you have to, bring it over to this side. Come in here. Get the angle in that side right there. One little bone. Hold on. There we go. Take your knife, angle towards the vertebrae, come through. Again, if you guys feel comfortable with your knife work and you want to just debone the entire neck and vertebrae without the saw, feel free to do so. More than welcome to do that. It just takes a little bit more effort. You're going to risk cutting into, when you remove these ribs, into your chops. So I like to chime it off myself first, and then I like to I like to remove the ribs. So right here is your spare rib. We're going to remove them. Just come down, keep that knife to the rib bone, and you can't go far wrong. The ribs just want to peel off, so. There you have it. You can see these chops. If I were to let them go a little bit longer on some feed, this coloration that you have right here would start to come up into this as well on there. So now, depending on how thick you want all your chops, take your steak knife here. And right from the get-go, it's very important. Sometimes your meat is not square. It's kind of looking like this. Square it up right away. Don't feel bad about sacrificing any of the cuts. Right here's a little bit of that shoulder bone. We're gonna nip that out. If you go between the fourth and fifth, you make this a little bit smaller right here that I'm nipping out, that shoulder blade. Don't feel bad about sacrificing some of this cut. Square it up right away because you're going to end up in a mess at the very end. Okay, let's get to chopping here. So right about, I like my chops to be about 1 inch. Come through. And if you have any of these button bones here, that's fine. We can remove them later. Just take your time. Nice straight cuts. I always like to make a mark with mine first, as you can see right here, to make sure I'm good because I'm not fully committed, and then just go right down through the fat. I always work from this side down. You're a lot more stable when you have the fat cap on the table. And again, if your pork chops are a little bit asymmetrical, don't worry about it. This is at-home butchery. We're not using any type of bandsaw to make perfect cuts. We can zip through this pork with a saw in probably about 30 minutes with a saw, but most of you don't have a bandsaw or access to one, so we want to make sure that we are using the tools that are at our disposal that are the most economical. Try to split this last one in an even pair there, if we can. All right, there you have it. If you get anything that looks like this at the very end, don't fret about it. If you don't want to throw that on the pan or as a pork chop, throw it into the sausage pile. If it's not big enough, you'll be just fine with that. We'll just set those chops aside for now. Now we're going to go with our loin chops. And you'll see, you don't need to chine this down. You just see these feather bones right here. Take your knife, just kind of get in behind them right here, like so. Stay to the bone. And if you leave meat on, like I said, guys, don't fret about it. You are making plenty of sausage. We're not in a competition here. Take that off. Now, this would be considered your loin section right here, which would be your New York strips. We'll get some steaks out of that. Squaring always. Take the time right now. Right here's from the belly too. Get any of that out, any of that cartilage. Always take the time to square your meat up, guys, because if you don't, you're going to be fighting yourselves at the end. You can't buy meat like this at the supermarket.
No.
This is miles away. Hopefully, as we go through this and you're seeing us break this down, everyone watching is a little bit less intimidated to try this on your own. It's really not that hard if you just keep in mind that any mistake that you make can be eaten. We're just trying to show you how to get the best value that you possibly can out of your pig. This one's a little bit oblong, so we're going to throw that into sausage. I do not trim any of the fat off. If my wife wants to, when we cook it, she's more than welcome to. You paid money for this fat by raising it. Why not use it? You don't got to eat it, but you need it to cook. We're going to set these loin chops aside, and we're going to go to the sirloin. Okay, so here's your sirloin. We're going to unfold the sirloin in here out from this H-bone. So just take your knife to the bone. Trying to do this on camera so everybody can see nicely. Just take nice strokes in there and unfold that beautiful sirloin. You leave any fat that you want to use, clean this up, put it into sausage. So you have a wonderful sirloin. If you want to cut some steaks out of, we'll cut a couple steaks out of this. I'm going to square it up real quick and throw it in the sausage. These you call chump steaks in Europe, but they're cut about 3 of them, and we'll go into maybe 4. But they got a nice blend of different meat on them. Okay, there you go. There's 4 good chump steaks. Very tasty, very tasty. Getting closer to the ham on there, so you get your flavor profiles getting a little bit different, as you can see. And then the rest of this, you can just keep this whole if you want to, which I think I'm going to keep it whole, because I got an entire other half of a pig that I can do, and I can dedicate that to sausage if I want. So I'm just going to kind of clean that up, and we're going to leave this as a roasting joint here. So. All right, now the last piece here is our bacon that we folded and let chill for a little bit. It could be a little bit more chill, but for time restrictions, we're just gonna go ahead and I'm gonna show you what you do. Fold it in half, and then we're just gonna take slices here after we square it off. Again, it's important to square. Just take slices that you would see in about the thickness that you get in the store, maybe about 1/4 inch or so. And just slowly kind of go through it. You don't have a bacon slicer and you want bacon, this is what you're gonna have to do. Kind of pull it down nice and slow. You can see right there, you're killing 2 birds with 1 stone. Cut that in half, you got 2 strips of bacon. You're always gonna have a little bit fattier side and a little bit more lean side to it until we work our way down through. Let's cut off 1 more piece and I'll kind of show you what it looks like as we travel down the line here. Back and forth, just like a rocking chair type motion. This is a marathon, not a sprint. There you go, there's another piece. Delicious bacon that you have. And after you get done, you're looking at it and you say, oh, that's a little bit too much fat. That piece right there probably goes sausage, no problem. And you can see as we're traveling down the line, we're getting a little bit more meat in there. Another piece for you. Another thing that I really love to do, one of my favorite cuts of meat is pork belly, thick pork belly tacos. We'll cut one of those. There's a good piece of bacon right there. So another thing that we can do, you'll see you'll have a good end of bacon, and you have more of a fatty end of bacon. You can unfold this, okay, like so, and you can look at your point end of your bacon, cut it in half, which we will right here, like so. Cut it right there. Continue with this of making your bacon. Cut your bacon down. This is where it got real thin from the ribs that we were coming through. I like to take this and get about a chunk like so, come down through. Bam, you got yourself a pork belly. This will shrink up. Put this in a taco with some pico, cheese, whatever you want on there. Delicious. Put it in the oven. I love it. So we're going to cut some pork belly for tacos. Pork belly, you don't want all this pork belly too, and you're a hunter. Save this for your deer, and it'll get delicious mixed with that lean venison. So there's some options that you can do with the belly section, or you can take it if you're not a bacon person, especially if you don't enjoy uncured bacon, like really uncured bacon with no salt, no type of prep at all, because you're going to get more of a ham flavor, is you can grind this all into pan sausage if you choose. So those are just some options with the belly that you can do. Or another thing, you can just take this and put it right on the grill. I've done that before too. It's excellent. Absolutely excellent. So we'll get the final shot of the entire half pig laid out here for you. Okay, well, thanks for joining us here. We are finished with our half hog breakdown. Hopefully this was informative to you. Hopefully it gave you the confidence to have a go yourself.
Yes.
We're just going to walk through on what you're able to get of a half hog. We'll talk about starting weight, feeding rations, hanging weight, retail cut weight in another video. But for today, let's just show what we accomplished. As you can see, we are miles away from what we started with. So as you can see, we have all of our flare fat here that we're going to save. Salamis, charcuterie boards, things of that nature. Here's some of our soup bones that we can save, or dog bones if you'd like. This is the forearm here. We have our picnic ham. We have 3 of our Boston butts that we cut into proportionate sizes. Going on to the belly, left this slab of belly whole. I think I'm just going to grill that myself. Got some bacon or pork belly strips here. We can continue cutting it down if we want. Showed you what you can get some bacon out of that. Chops. We got 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 11, and then we got the loin chops, 2, 4, 6, 9 out of there. They turned out really, really pretty on that. You have your pork tenderloin right here, the first cut we came off. You have your spare rib back here for grilling. You have your ribs that we took off of the belly right here for grilling. Your sirloin steaks, you can see right there, sirloin roast we kept. Then working down, we have the top side right here. We cut into some ham steaks, or what's considered your London broil. We got our sirloin tip roast, the bottom round roast there. You got your ham hock right there, ham and bean soup. And we have a massive trim pile that we're going to send through the grinder into some pan sausage. So
maybe in a future video we'll get into some of the sausage stuff too as well.
Absolutely. There's 100 different ways of doing that. Share some recipes that I like, some simple things that you guys can do at home. Rations on poundage that you have. What we like to do, the worst thing to do is to bite into a piece of sausage and have it be overly hot or overly salty, overly spicy. So we can get into that.
Well, I really appreciate you bringing us into your facilities here and making this simple for us. And like you said, hopefully it takes some of the intimidation out of it, that we can all do this. And I love that you said, don't stress about the cut. You can still eat it even if it's not cut right. It's still edible. You're not wasting it. And we will definitely have more videos. I think we're going to talk into coming out when we do our chickens. So look for that. That'll be great.
Do it.
But until then, let us know if you have any questions. If you have questions for Jason, let us know down in the comments. We'll get them to him, and I'm sure he'll answer as many questions as we can throw at him.
Absolutely.
Do all the things, like, subscribe, ring the bell,
Share us.
and we will see you on the next one.